Control players denied.
Hey Control Nation, welcome back to the channel. I'm your host, Dr. Red. In this video, we are going to be reviewing all of the control style cards in the Stellar Crown format and hopefully give you some new ideas for your decks. It is worth noting there are no auto KO cards, prize denial cards, shuffle and discard away cards, and no trainer retrieval cards. So let's start with ABD, Ability, Board, and Damage Prevention. Dipplin for 1 grass energy does 20 base damage, and states during your opponent's next turn prevent all damage done to this Pokemon by attacks from basic Pokemon. This is basically the replacement for Noivern EX whenever it rotates. It could be its own archetype, it could be a one-off in something like Pidgeot Control right now. It also could be paired with Hydrapple, which it evolves into. Could just be there as a tech as well. You have Mow Rotom, which is a great tech card against Lugia. Before doing damage, discard all Pokemon tools and special energy from your opponent's active Pokemon. Drednaw, the ability Impervious Shell. Prevent all damage done to this Pokemon by attacks from your opponent's Pokemon if that damage is 200 or more. It really seems to be its own archetype. It doesn't seem to be paired with anything. I think if you wanted to, you could try to make it work with Palkia V-Star or something like maybe Kingdra EX if you really wanted to, if you pair it with Baxcalibur to get it energized as well. Marowak, Growl, during your opponent's next turn, attacks used by the defending Pokemon do 40 less damage. Rhyperior, the Wide Wall ability. As long as this Pokemon is in the active spot, whenever your opponent plays a supporter card from their hand, prevent all effects of that card done to all of your Pokemon. Essentially, it's mainly there to stop boss's orders, though it does stop a few others. This card is very clunky. It's hard to get set up. If you want to play it, I recommend having maybe one backup attacker like Ogre Pawn. Definitely pair it with Pidgeot so you can get what you need fast. Definitely use DTE and a fighting energy. You could use reversal, but if Drillrun hits twice, you're going to quickly be even with your opponent, so that's a chance you have to be willing to take. Dubwool has the knockover attack. You may discard a stadium and play. That's really good for stopping things that want to use Area 0 under depths, but other than that, I don't think this card's going to see any play. Terapagos EX, we all know this one. Crown Noble does 180 base damage for a lightning, water, and grass energy. During your opponent's next turn, prevent all damage done to this Pokemon by attacks from basic non-colorless Pokemon. It's already its own archetype. It's paired with Noctowl, Palkia, you name it. And we're back to the beginning. Next, there are the damage counter cards. Yamask for 2 Psychic Energy has Ominous Eyes. Put 3 damage counters on one of your opponent's Pokemon. Medicham EX has Chiatsu for 2 colorless energy. Put damage counters on your opponent's active Pokemon until its remaining HP is 50. This card is mostly being paired with Frostlass, but you can also pair it with Baby Medicham, so it really does seem to be its own archetype for the most part. Orthworm EX has the ability Pummeling Payback. If this Pokemon is damaged by an attack from your opponent's Pokemon, put 2 damage counters on the attacking Pokemon for each metal energy attached to this Pokemon. This really seems to be its own archetype because it requires so many metal energy. It's been paired with Metang, as well as Lapras EX, which lets you look at the top 20 cards of your deck and attach as many energies as you find there to your Pokemon any way you like. Otherwise, it hasn't seen play with anything else. Deluxe Bomb is a SPEC tool card. If the Pokemon this card is attached to is in the active spot and is damaged by an attack from your opponent's Pokemon, put 12 damage counters on it, then discard this tool. This is great for something like Orthworm to really add up the damage counters, or something like Mismagius, or even Frostlass if you're afraid of getting gusted up. Just keeps adding and adding damage counters on and on onto your opponent's Pokemon. You can then pair it with Devolution to get rid of your opponent's evolution cards, like, say, Charizard EX or Pidgeot. And we're back to the beginning. And we have the draw cards. There's only 3. Lumineon has Return for 20 base damage and a colorless energy. Draw until you have 6 in your hand. Kofu, put 2 cards in your hand from the bottom of your deck in any order. If you do this, you can draw 4 cards. This card is fantastic for archetypes like the Rhyperior we just mentioned that don't have a draw engine or don't have a very good one or reliable one. If for any reason that's how you find your deck is working. So Kofu, 4 copies of it can really be good for just getting you to get stuff that you need fast. And Lacey, shuffle your hand into your deck, then draw 4. If your opponent has 3 or fewer cards remaining, you draw 8 instead. This card is fantastic, I think, for decks that are really going to be playing from behind most or all of the time. Because, and again, lacking a draw engine, this is another good option. If you know you're not going to be taking KOs all that much, unless you're block backs, don't play Lacey. Next, we have the energy cards in the expansion. We have Hydrapple EX with the ability Ripening Charge. Once during your turn, you may attach a basic grass energy card from your hand to one of your Pokemon. If you do this, you can heal 30 damage from that Pokemon. Also doubles as a healing method for you there. and it really is its own archetype, although I have seen it paired with Venusaur EX for tank control. Mow Rotom, again, discard all Pokemon pools and special energy from your opponent's active. Lapras EX, we just mentioned it. Larimar Rain for 1 water, 1 psychic, 1 metal energy. Look at the top 20 cards of your deck and attach any number of energy cards you find there to your Pokemon any way you like, and shuffle the other cards back into your deck. You could attack with it with Power Splash, 40 damage for each energy attached to this Pokemon, but it's really there for the acceleration. And it seems to be paired with any number of things that want lots and lots of energy, like Orthworm EX, or even Whiscash if you can put a bunch of fighting energy and reversals into your deck. Joltik, Jolting Charge, search your deck for up to 2 basic grass and 2 basic lightning energy attached to your Pokemon any way you like. This is obviously the pre-evolution for Galvantula EX. Then we have Rhydon, which is the pre-evolution for Rhyperior. Flip a coin if heads, discard energy from your opponent's active. Then we have Rhyperior again, this time Drill Run, the 180 base attack for 2 colorless and 1 fighting energy. Discard energy from your opponent's active Pokemon. Glass Trumpet, this is paired with Chansey EX, Galvantula, anything that can get a colorless Pokemon on the bench. You can play this card only if you have a Terra Pokemon in play. Any Terra Pokemon, not just a colorless one. Choose up to 2 of your bench colorless Pokemon and attach your basic energy from your discard pile to each of them. Crispin, search your deck for 2 basic energy cards of different types, reveal them, put one of them into your hand, attach the other into one of your Pokemon, shuffle your deck. This was made to be paired with Terapagos EX, but it's good for anything that needs multiple energies. So even if you have Articuno with 2 water energies, just put another type of energy in there, maybe a darkness energy for Monkey Dory, search for both of them, attach the water energy, have a second water in your hand, and all of a sudden Articuno is charged up in 1 turn. Sparkling Crystal is a tool, a spec. When the Terra Pokemon this card is attached to uses an attack, that attack costs 1 energy less. This is great for Serena EX for putting damage counters on your opponent's Pokemon for free. It's also great for that trick with Wellspring Masquerade for Pawn EX where you can keep just recycling energy for free and taking KOs on turn 1. And we're back to the beginning. Next we have the free card search card. This is Eldegoss, Breezy Gift for 1 colorless energy. Put this Pokemon and all attached cards into your deck. If you do, search your deck for up to 3 cards, put them into your hand, and then shuffle your deck. You can, ladies and gentlemen, search for the Eldegoss that you put back. So if you have a Gossifleur on your bench, you can just keep looping it however you like. Highly recommend you use this with a stall tactic, putting Mimikyu or Cornerstone Masquerade or Pawn EX in the active, so once Eldegoss is gone, you're not going to be KO'd right away. Alcremie has Colorful Confection. For 1 colorless energy, search your deck for up to 5 Pokemon that are the same type as any basic energy attached to this Pokemon. Reveal them, put them into your hand. I haven't seen this tried out yet. I haven't tried it out myself at this moment. Looks like it'd be a really good for a toolbox deck of some kind, or even if you just put, say, like a Psychic box, just put Psychic energy on Alcremie, search for 5 Psychic Pokemon, that type of thing. Noctowl. The ability Jewel Seeker. Once during your turn, when you play this Pokemon from your hand to evolve one of your Pokemon. If you have any Terra Pokemon in play, you may search your deck for up to 2 trainer cards, reveal them, put them into your hand, and then shuffle your deck. This can be a search engine for anything in the format if it really wants to be. Maybe once Pidgeot EX rotates. It's used right now mostly with Terapagos, but it can be paired with anything because all you need is a Terra Pokemon in play. And we're back to the beginning. For your treat cards, we have Ledian. Cinderace EX, a strictly aggro card. We have Archaludon with the ability Metal Bridge. All of your Pokemon that have metal energy attached have no retreat cost. And Talonflame. It's an aggro card. The retreat cost of your opponent's active Pokemon is 2 or more. This attack does 110 more damage. I should also mention, ladies and gentlemen, for Ledian, has the ability Glittering Star Pattern. When you play this Pokemon from your hand to evolve one of your Pokemon during your turn, you can switch in one of your opponent's bench that has 90 HP or less remaining in the active spot. So you might be able to retreat lock something that you've been doing damage the whole time and your opponent keeps switching it out. So Ledian might be worth a try there. Gusting cards, we got Ledian, which we just mentioned. Grimmsnarl, Goad and Grab for 2 colorless energy. Switch out your opponent's active Pokemon to the bench. Your opponent chooses the new one. If you do, this attack does 160 damage to the new active Pokemon. And it seems to be its own archetype. Pangoro, pull, switch in one of your opponent's bench Pokemon to the active spot. So it's basically a free boss. Fletchling hasn't seen play with anything, neither has the previous card. Send back, switch out your opponent's active to the bench. Your opponent chooses the new Pokemon. We're back to the beginning. I'm going to skip the other category. Retreat Lock, we have the new Leap. Bind Down, does 50 base damage for 1 grass energy. During your opponent's next turn, the defending Pokemon can't retreat. Turtonator, Ring of Fire, 50 base damage, 1 fire, 2 colorless energy. Your opponent's active Pokemon is now burned during your opponent's next turn. The Pokemon can't retreat. This hasn't seen any play. You might try it with Gouging Fire, a Fire Block Second with NTV if you're wanting to go aggro. And we have Orthworm EX, Rock Tomb, 150 base damage for 4 colorless energy. During opponent's next turn, the defending Pokemon can't retreat. Gravity Gemstone, this is seeing lots of play with all sorts of things, especially mill decks like Great Tusk and Comfey. As long as the Pokemon this card is attached to is in the active, the retreat cost of both active Pokemon is 1 colorless more. It can also be used for retreat locking your opponent out of a win. We're back to the beginning. Next, we have all the special condition cards. We have Cradily with the ability Selective Slime. Once during your turn, you can flip a coin. If heads, choose Burned, Confused, or Poison. Your opponent's active Pokemon is now affected by that special condition. Yes, it does stack. This attack, and then the Asthma Wind does 100 times for each special condition affecting your opponent's active Pokemon. So if you pair this with Brute Bonnet, you can poison it by default. Use Selective Slime, flip heads, get confused or burned on your opponent's Pokemon. All of a sudden, you're doing 200 damage before poison and burn kick in. Turtonator, we just said, it burns with Ring of Fire. Lantern, 2 colorless energy. Your opponent's active Pokemon is now confused. Put 8 damage counters to 3 on that Pokemon for this special condition. You might try pairing this with something like Frostlass. This card is a meme deck archetype, so you might just have fun experimenting with it. But because it's 8 damage counters, you might have some fun with Frostlass or Deluxe Bomb and things like that. Togedemaru, Electrifying Chance, 1 lightning energy for 30 base damage. If you have exactly 1 prize card remaining, your opponent's active Pokemon is now paralyzed. Infinite paralysis loop, assuming you don't KO anything, is very, very attractive. The thing is, you have to be doing KOs throughout the entirety of the match, or else your opponent has to be using a lot of Dusknoirs. So this card is very situational, it seems, but you can make it work, I think, with any single prize control deck. It doesn't mind going for KOs, so I guess aggro control. Docksplin EX, Wondershine, for 2 colorless energy, does 130 base damage. Your opponent's active Pokemon is now confused. Pancham Leer, flip a coin. If heads, your opponent's active Pokemon is paralyzed. Gulpin, Super Poison Breath, your opponent's active Pokemon is now poisoned, although it is for 2 darkness and 1 colorless. Swalot, it's Evolution, Venomous Hit for 2 darkness and 1 colorless. Your opponent's active Pokemon is now poisoned, does 100 base damage. Then we're back to the beginning. We have Tanks. We already went over Drednaw. It prevents damage if that damage is 200 or more. Bouffalant. This is seeing play with Terapagos. The Lost Origin Bouffalant. It has the ability Curly Wall. As long as you have at least one other Bouffalant in play, all of your basic colorless Pokemon take 60 less damage from attacks. The effect of Curly Wall doesn't stack. So get this Bouffalant and another one of any kind, any Bouffalant in play. Curly Wall kicks in. All your basic colorless now have 60 extra HP effective. Back to Dubwool. The Soft Wool ability, this Pokemon takes 30 less damage from attacks, though it doesn't work with Bouffalant because it's a stage 1. Tornadus has Storm Barrier for 3 colorless energy, 100 base damage. During your opponent's next turn, this Pokemon takes 50 less damage from attack, so it effectively has 160 HP. Occaberry, if the Pokemon this card is attached to is damaged by an attack from your opponent's fire Pokemon, it takes 60 less damage, then discard this card. And then Payapa Berry, if the Pokemon this card is attached to is damaged by an attack from your opponent's psychic Pokemon, it takes 60 less damage and discard this card. This might be good if you're really afraid of Gardevoir. And we're back to the beginning. Now we have these are the 1 and 2 offs that normally fit into CPU categories, but there just weren't enough to warrant having their own category here, so we put them all together. Eldegoss went over this, but it doubles as a healing card because you're putting it back in your deck, gets rid of all the damage counters. Salazzle, Sudden Scorching, 2 colorless energy. Your opponent discards a card from their hand. If this Pokemon evolved from Salandit during this turn, your opponent discards 2 more cards. This card is very difficult to get working as its own archetype. It really is better if you pair it with something like Comfey, have your opponent keep drawing 3, then evolve, put Salazzle in, play Xerosic's Machinations, reduce them down to 3, and then attack with Sudden Scorching, and now they have a 0 card hand. You also get to work with Pidgeot. Veluza has the ability Food Prep. Attacks used by this Pokemon cost 1 color less for each Kofu discard card in your discard pile. So this is our free attack card. Sonic Edge will attack for free with 4 Kofus in the discard pile. It is its own archetype. Galvantula EX, its own archetype. We all know this one. Fulgurite for 1 Grass, 1 Lightning, and 1 Fighting Energy does 180 base damage. Discard all energy from this Pokemon, but during your opponent's next turn, they can't play any item cards from their hand, so it is our Item Lock archetype. Comfy, we just mentioned Flower Shower. Each player draws 3 cards. It is extremely effective, even though you are giving your opponent cards. It really is a play from behind, play around your opponent kind of a deck, especially when you have other hand disruption cards like Luxray and Xerosic. Get it to work with Salazzle. It can also be its own thing. Doxbun EX is here because of its time to chow down ability. When you play this Pokemon card from your hand to evolve one of your Pokemon, during your turn you may heal all damage from each of your evolution Pokemon. If you healed any damage in this way, discard all energy from those Pokemon. So something like Serena EX that will take damage. If you have it with Sparkling Crystal, you have to discard any energy, or you're only discarding 1. So anything with a low energy count that you don't mind having to discard, if at all, definitely put with Doxbun. And you can also be a solid backup attack with Wonder Shine and confusing your opponent. Nianfu, knockoff, discard a random card from your opponent's hand. Antique Root Fossil, this is Lily and Cradley's basic. The ability Primal Root, as long as its Pokemon's in the active spot, attacks used by your opponent's basic cost 1 colorless more. I would imagine a Spathor EX would want to see this, if only just to get set up while your opponent is trying to get energized, but haven't seen it happen yet. And then we're back to the beginning. So that's it, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for watching, and may God bless you and hold you in the palm of his hand.